Hi, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. On Monday, August 3rd, news headlines from Arkansas and around the world. The big news is developing as I record this, and that is President Obama is talking today about his final decision on clean air plans. That is, increasing the restrictions on emissions of carbons into the atmosphere to do something about the rising temperature around the globe. This is certain to cause a strong reaction in Arkansas. It will be politically unpopular. His earlier plans, which weren't as restrictive, were already unpopular. The argument is it'll raise electric rates. That's perhaps true in the short term. There'll be huge savings in terms of health and perhaps saving the planet, but those are arguments that tend to fall toward the short-term impact. But it's going to be a big political issue. I would predict the governor of Arkansas to come out strongly against it, and for Attorney General Leslie Rutledge probably to go back to court to join other states in fighting them. Another interesting political development that plays out on both the state and national level. The Congress of the United States is looking at ways, the Republican majority is anyway, to stop funding of Planned Parenthood, not for abortions because federal money doesn't go to abortions, but for the other activities the organization engages in, whether it's cancer screening, sexual diseases, or family planning. They don't want any money to flow to Planned Parenthood. The problem about that is, of course, is these services that Planned Parenthood provide are very important in holding down the demand for abortion by keeping people from having unwanted pregnancies. The interesting development is that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic presidential nominee, has gone on the air with a pretty tough ad defending Planned Parenthood. That hasn't been popular in recent days because of some unsettling undercover video work done by abortion opponents about Planned Parenthood's legal engagement in providing tissues to other medical research. But Hillary Clinton has made it clear where she stands, and I think she's working on the women's vote, and there's a lot to be said there. In this vein, I'd urge you to read an article that I've linked to on my blog today from this month's Cosmopolitan. It's about somebody who spent a long time looking at so-called crisis pregnancy centers, which are really in sometimes very disingenuous ways to lure pregnant women in and to discourage them from having abortion. They certainly don't provide good information about health care to women. They provide no information about how to avoid getting pregnant. A lot of these places don't believe in contraception. They think you have sex to have babies, and that's what it's all about. But I urge you to read the article. The reporter who did this article visited Cabot and visited Little Rock and talked to some of the people that run these crisis centers. In other news, Governor Asa Hutchinson has appointed another task force. This one is on juvenile justice. I think we could make a strong stand in juvenile justice if we'd make sure that our juvenile centers don't abuse and beat children anymore. Perhaps we don't need as many detention centers. They tend to be breeding grounds for crime, not rehabilitation facilities. The Arkansas Blog reported over the weekend, based on sources, and they're reliable sources, that Chief Justice Jim Hanna of the Arkansas Supreme Court is going to retire effective September 1st because of health problems. Governor Asa Hutchinson will appoint somebody to serve the remainder of his term. This is going to complete the evolution of the Arkansas Supreme Court into a heavily Republican body, basically, that is not on the side of trial lawyers and criminal justice. Jim Hanna was a straight shooter, a centrist, a reasonable voice. He had become outvoted on administrative matters on the court by a four-woman bloc that have increasingly become powers and justice, and not always in good ways. We'll miss Jim Hanna. Bruce Pennington, the former sheriff of Saline County, has entered a negotiated guilty plea today to wire fraud in federal court. He's going to admit using campaign money for personal uses. He's at least the third Arkansas politician who's been charged in court for converting campaign money to personal use. This perhaps will discourage the practice somewhat in the future, at least in the short run. Late Friday night, I got Mike Huckabee's personal campaign finance report. Post-gubernatorial life has been very good to Mike Huckabee. He made $4 million in the last 12 months on his various business enterprise, $1 million making speeches primarily to churches and anti-abortion groups. He's got a net worth in the millions of dollars, pretty conservatively invested, including some Florida real estate. Florida, as you know, doesn't have an income tax. It's a little more friendly to people with his kind of money than Arkansas is. Welcome to the Little Rock animal family, Jumaji, if I'm saying Jumaji. Anyway, that's the baby chimpanzee, and that's the name given to the new arrival out at the Little Rock Zoo. It means everybody loves the child, and certainly they do if you've seen a picture of him. And finally, 2 playgrounds at Little Rock School District schools were burned over the weekend in apparent arsons. Go to GoFundMe, the online charitable fundraising tool, to help Franklin Elementary rebuild its playground. They need some place to play when they go back to school this fall. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.